teen spirit. I feel a good show is coming. Information will be imparted. You'll be relieved of your ignorance. You'll be enlightened by our insights. It's all happening right now. Thank goodness Stacy is here. Stacy.
Max, actually, since it's Team Spirit, I'm going to read you a few headlines and you tell me which one you want to know more about.
Okay.
The first one
sounds like fun.
The first one is from Zero Hedge. JP Morgan publishes the Bitcoin Bible. The second one is Arizona Senate passes bill to allow tax payments in Bitcoin. Or Goldman Sachs raises gold price forecast. And one more, what crushed stocks? And that's from wolfstreet.com.
Yes, well, the JP Morgan issuing their Bitcoin Bible, you see, the insiders in the organizations are in revolt. Jamie Dimon, their leader, has been discredited. Jamie Dimon, their leader, has been a known scamster, a penny pincher, a regulatory nightmare, somebody who has nickel and dimed America to near death and accumulated $1 billion of pennies, and like some bad Superman movie or that other film, Office Space. Now it all dovetails nicely into the states' rights of Arizona, saying, you know what, we want the business, we want the tax revenue. Crypto is the marijuana of money. You can't smoke it, but you can get high off it. And they're thinking, you know what? We love it. We've already got Nevada next door. They're making big bank in the casino business and the bunny ranch with all them fluffy-looking people, girls and whatnot, and guys, I suppose. And they're thinking, well, I want revenue too. They're saying crypto is the way forward. Crypto is the answer. The little digits in that little code are something that will give us the kind of relief we need to pay for roads and infrastructure, and maybe we can open our own little brothel and whatnot. You never know. Once you go down this path, anything's possible. For example, those are my opening comments. That would be my gambit at this time, my salvo, my word salad, but don't toss it.
So let's go over a few little bits. I'll pull out some of the nuggets from there. The first paragraph I'll read to you. They do admit here that some of the early buyers of CC, i.e. cryptocurrency, were clearly dismayed by ballooning balance sheets of the major central banks in the aftermath of the global financial crisis, but the lack of any meaningful inflation since in both developed markets and emerging markets has surely reduced concerns about fiat legal tender issued by a central bank money.
So they finally read the white paper. They finally read the white paper. It's only been almost 10 years. And they say, oh, the ballooning debts. That's what, caused somebody with a concern to do battle with the terrorists in the central banks. And they say that we printed lots of money, but there was no inflation. Failing to recognize that there was no wage inflation for people. There was asset inflation for your punk enablers, asset stripping mongers, and terrorists, but wages didn't go up because using financial engineering, wages, no mas, they don't go up. Woo! Minorities, black folks in America, no, they didn't get nothing. No, they're in the wrong gerrymandered quarter. Nothing for them. So it's all smoke and mirrors. And I hope now, I'd like to see the faces of these bankers when they realize that the game is over and they're about to be run over by a steamroller. They're like, ding, 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 we're dead. That's right. Drop dead quicker. Make our lives easier.
In fact, this next paragraph I'm going to read suggests he sees the steamroller coming because he's basically in this paragraph pleading, JP Morgan's pleading with the central banks not to let them die because they say fractional reserve banking was a tremendous innovation that surely contributed greatly to global growth over the last 2 centuries, and we would expect that central banks would think twice before disturbing this source of capital to the private sector.
That's a heinous lie. It's so ridiculously over-the-top absurd to say that fractional reserve banking has contributed mightily to the growth of the economy. It has grown mightily to the growth of debt. It's put the globe into this debt straitjacket of hundreds of percentage of debt to GDP around the world. It's essentially like saying to Pablo Escobar that putting baby powder into his cocaine, which is like fractional reserve banking contributed enormously to his cocaine empire. That's true. But unless you want to run the world like a cocaine empire, like the Jamie Dimons and the Lloyd Blankfeins and the new central bank president, then it's not healthy for the global economy. They're in denial. Fractional reserve banking is part of the whole tapeworm problem. It's the parasitical problem. It's the whole destruction of the economy.
Yes, it's lended to, well, no pun intended, to a growth in debt, but also a growth in fraud and a growth in injustice, I would say. As he had mentioned at the top, it was the global financial crisis, not in particular the global financial crisis, like he kind of skims over what the white paper actually says, but it was the fraud of the global financial crisis that was in the Bitcoin white paper, the bailing out of the losers, of the parasites that the central banks enabled. So that is only possible. Had we been on a gold standard or any other standard by which central banks would have actually, it would have cost them to bail out their buddies and their cronies who were parasites, then you wouldn't have seen this.
Who said this?
This is JP Morgan's Bitcoin.
JP Morgan is saying this? So fractional reserve banking is not destructive? And that had nothing to do with the global financial crisis. Okay. Jamie Dimon is essentially the Harvey Weinstein of the global finance market. And now Harvey Weinstein still thinks he's going to make a comeback. Yes. Harvey Weinstein's still in denial about the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases of improper behavior / rape. Harvey Weinstein would walk into a room, ejaculate into a plant, and think that was acceptable. Jamie Dimon walks into an economy and ejaculates monetary money. He ejaculates money, and he says, oh, that's fine. That's great. The wealth and income gap is skyrocketing. The global ecosystem is collapsing. We have made billionaires out of the worst kakistocracy of low-level nincompoops in the world, but that's fine, because I'm Jamie Harvey Weinstein Dimon. I mean, this guy should be locked up and flogged. I mean, I hate to put it in those terms, but if Saudi Arabia can do it, why can't we? I mean, this guy Novogratz was just in Saudi Arabia saying they're on the road to a better tomorrow. Well, let's borrow some of their policies, Mike. Let's take Jamie down to the center of town and do the chop. Let's get rid of our vice and vermin.
However, in this so-called Bitcoin Bible, here is a positive thing. They do finally admit about Bitcoin. We examine the potential role of cryptocurrencies in terms of offering diversification in a global portfolio, given their high returns over the past several years and their low correlation with the major asset classes, offsetting some of the cost of high volatility. If past returns, volatilities, and correlations persist, cryptocurrencies could potentially have a role in diversifying one's global bond and equity portfolio, but in our view, that is a big if, given the astronomical returns and volatilities over the past few years. So kind of like you, they do suggest that once the liquidity improves and once the price settles on a higher level, it won't be so volatile and you won't see these 1000x returns.
Well, here, they're talking banker to banker and fiduciary to fiduciary. In other words, they're saying that Bitcoin has eaten our lunch. The returns on Bitcoin have made everything we do as a bank look stupid, immature, and low performance. Even Warren Buffett has not kept up with Bitcoin. Nobody's kept up with Bitcoin. So they're saying that, oh, it's a non-correlating asset. Okay, what does that mean? That means stocks, bonds, and currencies are all in bear markets now and are going to continue to be in bear markets, and they're probably going to wipe out a whole generation or two. Cryptocurrencies are the only thing that's going to save these people and us from being fired. So we're going to nibble at the cryptocurrency market, because even if we get a little bit of those gains you've had in the last 10 years in Bitcoin, it'll save us from having to report big red negative year-on-year returns on every single piece of money management business we touch. So they're like, oh, yeah, we want to save our job. Well, it's, too late. The millennials are going over to the Cash App, thanks to Jack over
Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey, thanks, Jack. They're going over to Coinbase. They're going...
Yeah, Square, that was the Square Cash App.
The Square Cash App.
I got a lot of big Bitcoin whales addicted to it.
Jimmy Song. You introduced Jimmy Song, the most trusted name in crypto, to what? Why are you giggling? Why are you laughing?
We don't want to tie him to anything, but let's move on.
He loves the recognition.
Yes, he does like you saying his name. But you know,
he doesn't understand modern art.
Okay,
That's the
J.P.
problem.
Morgan is now kind of
modern art. You got to get into it.
J.P. Morgan had denied the power and existence of Bitcoin. Now they've capitulated and they're accepting it, and now they're writing Bitcoin Bibles. The other argument by no coiners, as they're called, has been that until you could pay taxes with Bitcoin, then it's not a real currency.
And
Arizona Senate passes bill to allow tax payments in Bitcoin. The Arizona Senate passed a bill on February 8th to allow residents in the state to pay their taxes with cryptocurrencies. Public records indicate the Senate Bill 1091, which intends to enable cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin, for tax payment, was introduced January 10th, 2018, and passed by the Senate Finance Committee by a 4-3 vote on January 24th. On February 8th, the Senate passed the bill by a 16-13 margin with one no vote.
Jim Rickards has got to be feeling like a meathead right now.
It still has to pass the Arizona House of
Peter
Representatives.
Schiff. They're like, man, we were so wrong about this Bitcoin thing. We couldn't have been more wrong.
So,
also, before I forget, we said we'd mention that guy Michael and Josh. You know, not pertaining to anything, but we promised we'd mention them.
Hi, Michael and Josh.
Remember? Thanks
Yes.
for a great evening, by the way. That was fun in Cancun. Well, those guys are great. Over there,
I know.
They're super. They had a lot of inside dope on who is really Satoshi.
But nobody in the global audience watching this knows what we're talking about there. But regarding
Why should
this,
that be any different?
But regarding this, okay, so it still has to pass the Arizona House of Representatives. And what, in particular, the guy who sponsored this bill, Arizona State Republican Representative Jeff Wenninger, who co-sponsored the bill, said the tax measure intends to turn the state into a center of blockchain and digital currency technology in the future. So that's...
Yes! Ow! The price you pay for manning the barricades. Well, this is obviously great news. And everyone who said there's no use case for Bitcoin, like you can't pay taxes with it, they're being proven wrong. By state, they will adopt these policies, and it'll kick up to the federal level, especially as the price goes to $100,000 per Bitcoin.
Federal level, we could just forget about it. It's the states that matter in the United States, and so they
It's the
lead
United
the way.
States, isn't it?
It's the United
States.
Yes.
You know, it's the states. They're united.
They're saying, follow us, punk. You know, that's what they say to Jeff Sessions or whatever.
Yeah,
but
follow what we're doing.
And this guy, by the way, this representative from Arizona, says that this is just the first of several bills that he's introducing or co-sponsoring in Arizona to make it a blockchain-friendly, Bitcoin-friendly state.
Heck yeah, of course. You know, all those senators and congressmen who are against gay marriage and they find him in some hotel room with a rent boy, is Jeff Sessions, by that extrapolation, a pothead? We'll be discussing that in the second half. Don't go away. Much more coming your way. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to turn to Mark Yusko. He's the founder and chief investment officer at Morgan Creek Capital Management. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're going to get to the Bitcoin stuff in a minute.
Absolutely.
But let's put this in context. So first of all, how much do you guys manage over there, roughly?
About $1.5 billion.
Okay.
Total assets.
And so you've got to do asset allocation. You look around trends, and you're trying to put money to work where it's going to get the biggest rate of return. You've got some themes: demographics and healthcare. Number 2, energy and natural resources.
Yep.
Number 3, growth of emerging market consumers. 4, wealth transfer to developing markets. So let's just touch on these: demographics and healthcare. Mark Yusko, what do you see there?
Pretty simple. The West is getting old, and the East is very young. We think that there'll be these two big trends. One, in the West, we're going to need a lot of biotechnology and a lot of medical devices. We're spending more on looking better, living longer. And then in the East, where they have young populations, they need healthcare services, pharma. So it's just a great opportunity for healthcare broadly.
Energy and natural resources. Mark.
Look, energy is ubiquitous. We all need it. We all are running out of different forms. You got the alternative energy processes coming that are very interesting, solar and wind,
How important is
et
the fact that solar prices are, dropping down like the same way we saw microchip prices drop down and that curve, that asymptotic curve down to zero? Is that really having a big effect?
A huge effect. And it used to be grid parity was a pipe dream, but now grid parity for solar power is real.
Grid parity means solar is on a parity with the current energy grid?
Getting close. Getting
Okay,
close. Still not as good as hydro or nuclear, but it's getting right there with natural gas.
Well, Buckminster Fuller said the Earth gets 1,000 times more energy than it needs every day from the sun.
Exactly.
So we're
We
just
just catch
capturing
some of
that,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Growth of emerging market consumers. What does that
Yes.
mean?
We are about to enter the largest consumptive boom in the history of mankind. And I'm a hyperbolic person, but that's not a hyperbolic statement. There are 3 billion people that are about to age into the prime consumption years of 45 to 65 around the world. They've seen our life and they want it. So whether it's in Asia, whether it's in India, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, most people have no idea that Indonesia has 240 million people. It's a huge, huge place, and they're starting to consume just like we are. China is about to go from a manufacturing economy to a consumer economy, and they've brought into middle class a huge number of people, and they're going to consume a lot of stuff. India, not this year or the next year, but over the next 30 or 40 years, is going to have the most well-educated, wealthiest workforce on the planet, and high working age population growth, which means high GDP growth.
Now, this is happening at an era when technology has brought consumerism a different spin on the game with sites like Amazon and elsewhere. So when you think about consumerism and emerging markets, like first you think maybe a Procter & Gamble, right? They shampoo and healthcare products and deodorants and stuff that P&G does, and these people are getting the designer, side of the lot. But does these technology platforms like Amazon, are they going to grow their own Amazon, or is Amazon just going to move into these places?
Great question, and it's really they're going to leapfrog just like they did in wireless. They skipped wireline and went straight to wireless. So they take advantage of technology. E-commerce in China is one of the biggest trends really going out there. I think of Alibaba, not much 10 years ago. Today, one of the most dominant players on the planet. Tencent and WeChat, huge, huge platforms for commerce. Think about this. Every day last year, somebody bought stuff on a mobile phone, and 240 million people in the United States bought something with their mobile phone. 750 million people in China did the same thing. E-commerce over the next decade, according to McKinsey, will grow 26%, compounded for 10 years. The mobile component of e-commerce will grow 51. Plug in 1.51 to the 10th power in your HP 12C, you and I from that era, okay, you get 65. Not 65%, 65x. So the market for mobile e-commerce in China is going to be 65 times larger a decade from now. It's a huge opportunity.
Wealth transfer to developing markets. Where's the wealth transferring from to where?
Creditors always win. So think about when Europe had all the money and we were an emerging market back in the 1860s and 1920s, and then they got very indebted and we took all the wealth. Same things happen now. We now are fat, dumb, and happy. We've got too much debt. Where's it all owned by? Emerging markets. So the wealth always flows to the creditors.
So there's a symbiotic relationship between China and the U.S. where China is reinvesting all the dollars they get, and we're taking all the cheap goods. And they kept the dollar has supported the dollar.
Used to be that way.
Right. Is that breaking apart?
Oh yeah, badly. My wife would kill me as an English major. So here's the thing. If you think about...
No, we're men. We can go ahead and abuse syntax and grammar on this show. Your wife's not here.
That's exactly right.
My wife's here.
That's right.
But she's busy outside, so we can just rip the grammar apart.
We can rip grammar apart.
All we want.
All right, it's just bad.
Yeah.
Not badly.
We're bad.
All right. So if you think about... A friend of mine has a daughter, and 4 years ago she came and said, "Daddy, I thought you said Santa Claus brings the presents." He said, "Well, honey, he does. Why?" She says, "Why do they all say made in China?" 4 years ago, up to today, it used to be about made in China, and we were buying their cheap goods. Now, as they become the largest consumer market in the world, it's about made for China. So all this rhetoric from the Trumpkins about how we're going to start a trade war, no chance. The biggest market in the world is China to send our goods to. They now buy more oil from us than anybody else. It's not changing any time, and that's bad for the dollar. The dollar is in a secular bear market, and people don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to believe it, but it just is. Look, world reserve currency status, you don't keep it forever. You keep it usually 60, 70 years, and then it goes to the next. And it used to be all about powerful Navy. Now it's about the power of information, data, and consumptive power.
The English pound and the Navy. They
exactly.
had the reserve currency.
And then Portugal before that, and
France was in there on that list.
Exactly.
And so now we're moving away from the U.S.'s role. So you're looking at, so the old on the dollar index, I think the old low has been 70.
Yes.
It's currently around 90.
Yes.
So you're looking for a break below 70?
Yeah, look, we do these 10 surprises every year. So my surprise last year is it would go down, and everybody thought it was ridiculous. This year I said we're going from 90 to 80. I think the next year after that we'd probably go 80 to 70. So 70 is a little aggressive right now, but I think we're there long term.
And you're bullish on gold?
Kind of bullish on gold. I mean, I like gold. The problem with gold is it can be, and has been, I think, manipulated. So that's a challenge. There are too many short sellers in the world of gold. But long term, relatively bullish. The thing I like about gold, it is a store of value. It has been for 5,000 years. I mean, for 4,000 of those 5,000 years, an ounce bought a fine man's suit.
All right, so now let's get to Bitcoin. First of all, you have a lovely tie on. It's a
gold equivalent.
It's
a
gold
little
2.0.
scale. Yeah. Well, it's this little scale. It's got Bitcoin on one side and gold on the other.
And that was sent to you by the fine folks at Van Eck.
Van Eck, yes.
And I guess they have an ETF product they're working on?
They're working on. You know,
they're very bullish on Bitcoin over there.
They are.
And so, as you are,
I am.
You run a $1 billion+ fund. How aggressive can you get into Bitcoin? How do you play Bitcoin? Is it too early for Bitcoin? Tell us.
Yeah, you know, look, we have played picks and shovels primarily so far. We've invested in a number of the venture funds that have been investing in places like Coinbase and Corbett and other things.
So Barry Silbert's group over there.
We're not with Barry, but we're with Dan Moorhead at Pantera, and we're looking at Blockchain
Pantera.
Capital and Stevens Brothers. So like those guys. I think what he's doing is really great, and we're looking forward to his next offering. We've done a little bit in the actual cryptocurrencies. The challenge for institutional investors, most of our clients still institutions, is custody. And until somebody solves that custody, you know, it's funny, they won't custody Bitcoin because they can't take physical custody. But what are they doing with patents? And what are stocks and bonds? They're not really physical bearer bonds anymore. They're ones and zeros. So I'm not sure they're just not hiding behind the, hey, we don't understand it, so we don't want to do it yet.
Well, a couple of Swiss banks are now offering custodian services.
I need to talk to you about that.
Yeah, so I just read about this. This is new.
All right.
Our friends over at Gold Money with Roy Sabag.
All right, cool.
Now offers institutional custodian services.
I'm going to be on it as soon as we leave.
Yeah, and I hope I get like a free hat or something for Roy. Roy, you promised me a T-shirt. So far, I got nothing. How about some of the Monet jewelry? You know, they.
Oh yes, that would be nice.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
That'd be a nice gift.
All right, so let's talk about the regulators out there. So the CFTC chairman, Giancarlo, he came out here, practically gave Bitcoin a wet kiss.
Yes.
And said, this is the currency of the millennials.
Yeah. And we're going to be your little lapdog over here. We love you kids. We love crypto. All my kids play with crypto. How sincere is that?
Look, I think it's sincere, and I think it's real in the sense that a couple things about the SEC and CFTC and all these regulatory bodies, they don't have enough people, right? They can barely cover what they have to cover now. The idea of trying to go out after the new 140 funds that are now, trading crypto and all these new big exchanges that are popping up, they just don't have the manpower.
Okay, you mentioned just a moment ago, Mark, that gold price was maybe inhibited from performance due to manipulation, and that manipulation seems to be blatantly in front of the face of regulators. Like Silver was Bart Chilton. Before this guy was Bart Chilton. He was given irrefutable evidence, and he didn't seem to see what was right in front of his face. So, there seems to be a conflict here. Am I wrong?
Look, incentives matter.
Did I just lose half your clients?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, look, I talk about this stuff too, and the reality is, incentives matter, and people do what they're incented to do. And J.P. Morgan had a lot of short gold and silver positions, and they needed someone to take the other side. So boom, we get an ETF long gold. But that is seemingly going to happen here in Bitcoin and blockchain-related and crypto-related assets. And it's a process. We're still very young. People want to talk about which inning we're in. We haven't even started the game. We're still like in pregame warm-ups.
All right, SEC Chairman Clayton, they're taking a more, I think, aggressive position, certainly against ICOs.
Which they should.
I've been in business for 30 years. I started out on Wall Street. All the ICOs to me look like, offerings. And offerings are, regulated. And so are we going to see some action there, you think?
I think we are, and I think we have. I think they've gone after two that were really egregious. Look, if you look at any organized exchange over the years. There's always been abuses at the lowest level, right? Penny stocks were run by boiler rooms. They call them boiler rooms for a reason, not because they were nice people. So when a regulatory body has to look into something new, they have a choice. Where are they going to go? Are they going to go after what seems like a legitimate transaction, like a Bitcoin or Ethereum, or do they want to go down to this level of pumping up Ponzi schemes in an ICO? That doesn't mean all ICOs are bad. It doesn't mean all tokenization is bad. Look, I'm a huge believer that everything in the world, this building we're sitting in, someday is going to be tokenized. Fractional ownership, 24/7, global liquidity, that's far superior to lock it up 10 years in a partnership and have two-year extensions and pay 2 and 20. So.
Okay, let me just ask you, and then if you can stay for another segment.
Sure, absolutely.
Before we go, though, so you put out a $400,000 price target on Bitcoin.
Yep.
How'd you get there?
All about the tie. Gold equivalents.
Okay, it's
right?
all about the gold equivalents. I thought you meant your tie and magical powers, like Fluffy Pony or something like this.
No, it's just gold equivalents. And it's pretty simple. And everyone's, how can you make such a simple argument? It's like, because that's where I think we're going. Bitcoin, to me, in its current form and current technology, is a store of value, digital gold. Gold is an $8.4 trillion market, 21 million, and there aren't really 21 million. There's probably
I'm going to pick it up right
million.
there. I got to go.
All right.
Don't go away. We'll pick it up right there on that exact point. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Mark Yusko of Morgan Creek Capital. If you want to reach us on Twitter, it's Keiser Report. Until next time, bye, y'all.